In a small, remote village in the heart of West Africa lived a young man named Malik. Born into a very poor family, Malik had always dreamed of escaping poverty and living a life of luxury and abundance. His parents, modest farmers, did their best to provide for the family, but times were hard and the future seemed uncertain. Malik was a brilliant student. He had always excelled at school and his teachers saw great potential in him. However, despite his excellent results, opportunities for a young man from his village were limited. The frustration of seeing his dreams of a better life collide with the reality of poverty was beginning to eat away at Malik. One day, while wandering through the back alleys of the market, Malik heard about a marabout reputed to grant the most impossible wishes. Desperate to change his life, Malik decided to pay the marabout a visit. The marabout, an old man with piercing eyes and a mysterious aura, listened attentively to Malik. After a long moment of silence, he spoke in a deep, solemn voice. "I can offer you the wealth you desire, but the price is high. To become rich, you'll have to sacrifice your parents and, every day, you'll have to spend 10 million CFA francs. If you fail, you'll die." Malik, blinded by his desire for wealth, accepted the offer without hesitation. The marabout gave him a strange potion and precise instructions for the sacrificial ritual. Malik returned home, heavy-hearted but determined. That night, he carried out the ritual, sacrificing his parents in an act of pure madness. At first, nothing seemed to change. Malik went on with his everyday life, but a feeling of unease and guilt haunted him constantly. A few days after the ritual, Malik received a mysterious phone call. An unfamiliar voice told him that colossal funds had been transferred to his bank account. Bewildered, he checked his account and, to his amazement, was now a billionaire. Initially euphoric, Malik began to spend lavishly. He bought luxury cars, designer clothes, and threw lavish parties. But he soon realized that spending 10 million CFA francs a day wasn't as easy as he thought. The stores in his village couldn't even cope with such spending, and he had to go to town, sometimes traveling hundreds of kilometers to find places where he could squander his money. Weeks went by, and every day became a new challenge. Malik began to feel the immense pressure of this daily obligation. The guilt of losing his parents, combined with the constant fear of not being able to spend enough money, began to eat away at his mind. He avoided the eyes of his former friends and neighbors, ashamed of what he had become. To make matters worse, Malik discovered that the more he spent, the more he attracted the attention of the local authorities. Investigations were launched into his financial activities, and he constantly had to find ways to justify his excessive spending. Police and journalists began to ask uncomfortable questions, and Malik had to become increasingly inventive to disguise the origin of his money. One day, exhausted and desperate, Malik decided to return to the marabout. He hoped to find a solution, an escape from this endless nightmare. However, when he arrived, he discovered that the marabout had mysteriously disappeared, leaving behind an empty, abandoned hut. Malik questioned the villagers, but no one seemed to know where the marabout had gone. The days that followed were a living hell for Malik. He lost sleep, his mind tormented by horrible visions of his parents and bitter regrets for his actions. His mental health deteriorated rapidly, and he began to lose touch with reality. He wandered the streets, disheveled and delirious, talking to himself and reliving the horrors of his past over and over again. In an attempt to escape his inner demons, Malik embarked on an even more extravagant spending spree. He bought property in faraway lands, financed insane projects, and hired dubious people to help him spend his money. But every day, the task became more arduous and the weight of his obligation more unbearable. One day, during one of his wanderings, Malik came across a kindly priest offering help to lost souls. The priest, a man with a face scarred by the years, saw in Malik a desperate man and tried to reach out to him. "My son, it's never too late to ask for forgiveness and seek redemption," he said gently. But Malik, deeply troubled, could no longer hear these words. It was too late for him. His soul was already lost. In the days that followed, Malik continued to sink into madness. He wandered aimlessly, talking to himself and reliving the horrors of his past. Finally, he was found unconscious in a dark alley. Taken to hospital, he was unrecognizable, ravaged by madness and guilt. The doctors tried to help him, but it was too late. His spirit was irreparably broken. Malik's story spread throughout the village, becoming a moral lesson for all who heard it. He was remembered not as the brilliant young man he had been, but as one who had sold his soul to the devil for fleeting wealth. Wealth, obtained by occult means, had only brought misery and destruction. And so Malik became a living warning of the folly of pursuing wealth at any price. His tragic end reminded us all that true wealth lies in love, family, and integrity.